Hey guys, so we just finished talking about traditional fire ciders the next day for you, but it's that spicy, clear your sinuses, wake you up fire cider, the one that lets you know immediately you made a very serious decision, like it, love it, or not. But today we're going to talk about something a little different. We're going to talk about what some herbalists affectionately call Cider fire cider, right? And I like the name because it implies, right, that sometimes you don't want to wait 4 weeks for your preparation. Sometimes you don't want to peel 5 pounds of horseradish, and sometimes you just want a completely different flavor profile, right? And that's exactly what this recipe gives us. So what makes this a Cider fire cider? Well, traditionally, fire cider is made by combining your ingredients in a jar and allowing them to steep for 2 to 4 weeks. And that's great if you can plan well enough and have 2 to 4 weeks. Sometimes that doesn't happen for us, right? Sometimes cold weather sneaks up on us. And this recipe takes a different approach. Instead of waiting for time to do the work, we allow heat to do the work, right? And suddenly what normally takes weeks can be completed in a single day. We're not changing the goal, we're changing the method, right? And I use both, and I have used both methods, but sometimes fake summer fools you and then fall shows up way too soon. So the biggest lesson isn't really speed, it's the formulation, right? Because if you compare the traditional recipe to this one, you're going to notice some interesting differences, right? The foundation's still there. You still have warming ingredients, right? You still have pungent ingredients, right? You still got your vinegar, your honey, but then we tweak some things, right? And those changes completely transform the recipe, for better or worse, depending on your spicy level, I guess. So let's start with the ingredient that completely changes the personality of this preparation, hibiscus, right? Now, as we know, I love my hibiscus plant. Uh-oh, she's yellow and it's time to water her again. I like hibiscus because it's tart, it's bright. I'll add it to a lot of different teas just for that reason alone. And that ruby red color, well, it's just gorgeous to add to a tea. But hibiscus isn't just here to make our recipe pretty. Historically, hibiscus has been used in beverages around the world, and modern research has explored its naturally occurring plant compounds and antioxidants activity. But here's what I find most interesting. The addition of hibiscus immediately softens the personality of this preparation. It's still bold, it's still warming, but it no longer feels aggressive, like in your face. You made a decision, but it's not as strong as the original decision. And then I add pomegranates, right? And pomegranates really deserve more attention than they get, mostly because anyone who's ever opened one has earned my respect, because that's a commitment within itself. The addition of pomegranate adds another layer of tartness and complexity. And suddenly this isn't just a spicy herbal vinegar. Now we're balancing sweetness, sour, tart, warm, and spicy flavors all at the same time, right? And this is where herbalism becomes art, if you will. But we can't overlook the orange in this recipe. I think the orange might be the most underrated ingredient in the recipe because it acts like a bridge, right? It connects the bright acid of the hibiscus and the pomegranate with the warmth of the ginger and the sharpness of the vinegar, right? It brings the entire recipe together, which this is one of my favorite recipes. I made a whole bunch last year and was like uber giving it away. But this is why I love formulation, right? Because changing 3 ingredients completely changed the final product. And that's how herbalists think, right? You still got your base, your foundation, but you ask, can I make this gentler? Can we make this a little stronger? Can I make this more approachable? Can we make this more practical? Can we make this taste better, right? And that's kind of what you're asking when you're going through your formulations. Because every ingredient that you answer with as you formulate your fire ciders, well, is going to change the answer. So which fire cider should you make? Well, honestly, that depends. Do you love bold, spicy, traditional flavors? Make the classic. Do you want something brighter and fruitier? Well, try the hibiscus version. Do you have 4 weeks? Well, make the traditional version. Do you need something yesterday? Well, try the hibiscus one, right? That's why, I just don't believe there's one perfect formula, right? There's only the formula that's right for you. What's your circumstances? What's your time constraints? What's your herbal profile? What's your medication? Like, all of that still comes into play with fire ciders, right? And I think this recipe teaches us one final lesson before we move on from fire cider. We didn't spend as long there as we did with mushrooms, but herbalism isn't about memorizing recipes. It's about understanding the ingredients. It's about understanding preparations, and it's about learning how to adapt the formula to fit your needs. Because once you understand why, you stop following the recipes and start thinking like an herbalist and replacing things and moving things around, right? And I personally think that's where my education really shifted, because you get in and you want the answers and you're looking for the recipes, and they're great, right, for starters. And I absolutely used them for years until I really dug into things. But if you have a recipe and you run out of an herb, do you know what to put in its place that's going to add the same value? Maybe that's where you start, right? You take the herbal recipes you have and you think, okay, well, if I was going to run out of, Tulsi tomorrow, what can I put in that has the similar benefits? Not the same, because no herbs are the same, but similar, right? And that's a good exercise, right? It's a great exercise in preparedness as well. What happens if that crop fails? What happens if there's a shortage? How am I going to formulate this differently and still get the benefits from it? If you get attached to your herbal preparations, like a lot of us do, you've got to figure out how to sidestep and maneuver through that type of stuff. So until next time, guys, stay rooted, stay curious, and as always, keep growing in grace.